on the higher tier paper, when you're expanding brackets, sometimes you're going to be required to expand something that we call triple brackets. It's really not that difficult. It's just the same process kind of repeated, to be honest. So when you're expanding triple brackets, you can pick any of these kind of two bubbles of stuff to multiply first. It doesn't matter which one you pick. So you could pick that one and that one and ignore the kind of x plus 2, or you could pick x plus 2, x plus 3 and ignore the x for now. You could pick the x and the x plus 2 and ignore the other bracket for now. So basically just pick two bits. It makes sense to me to do any brackets you've got first because we're kind of used to that. But it can be any brackets you've got. So we've only got two brackets here at the moment and an x at the front, but you'll see in the next examples that we have three brackets sometimes as well. So when I do these, I pick the two brackets first and I still draw my table. So x and a plus 3 on the top, and then an x and a positive 2 on the side. And I expand them like I just did. So let's use green. So x times x gives me an x squared. Positive 3 times x gives me positive 3x. X times positive 2 gives me a positive 2x. And then positive 3 times positive 2 gives me a positive 6. So these are my four terms from these two brackets. So those two are done. I am going to simplify it before I do the next bit. So let's think about how we can write this in total. So x squared, there's no other x squares involved. So I'm just going to write that down. 3x and 2x, they're like terms, so we can actually add those two together. So positive 3 add another 2 is positive 5x. And then this 6 down here is the only number we've got, so that's going to stay the same. So actually, if you expand these two brackets, you end up with this expression here. Now, this x at the front means that you're going to have to do x times all of that expression. So the bit that you haven't used yet, you're going to multiply everything from your current result by the leftover bit. So we're going to do another table for this. Whatever's in the bracket goes at the top. So x squared plus 5x plus 6. So this time we've got 3 columns, which is absolutely fine. So that's your inside bracket. And then whatever's on the outside bracket goes on the side. So that's just an x at the moment. So we're going to multiply this out. So x times x squared gives me x cubed. 5x times x gives me positive 5x squared. And then positive 6 times x is positive 6x. So your actual final answer for this one is this expression here. So x cubed plus 5x squared plus 6x. Okay, hopefully that made sense. So your table's not always like a 2 by 2 or a 2 by 1. It really does depend on what you've got in your brackets. Okay, let's go for another one. So again, I can pick any brackets that I want to start with. I always pick the first two. I'm just a bit boring really, but you know, you could even investigate, does it work if you do a different two brackets first? You could do the same question twice and see if you get the same result. You should be able to do that. So we're going to go for this table. So we're going to have an x and then a negative 1 on the top. And then we're going to have an x and a positive 2 on the side. And then we're going to multiply everything to get our answers. So x times x gives me x squared. Negative 1 times x gives me negative 1x, but we don't usually write the 1, so I'm just going to put negative x. X times positive 2 gives me a positive 2x. And then negative 1 times positive 2 gives me negative 2 in total. So this would probably get me a mark. However, I need to think about when I write the final expression for this bit, I need to think about writing it with collecting any like terms as well. So at the moment, the only x squared I've got is here. So that's going to stay the same. So I've got x squared. Then any x's, well, I've got a negative x and a positive 2x. So that's like 2x minus x. Well, that actually just gives me 1x left, and that's positive. So plus 1x or plus x. Okay. And then lastly, the only number we've got in the table is minus 2. So we're going to have minus 2 as your final part of that expression. Now that's the first two brackets done because I use those, which is brilliant. However, I still haven't used this bit here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that bracket, I'm going to put my results from the first two brackets in a bracket, and I'm going to pop that one in front of that. Okay, so we're going to need another table this time, and there's going to be a lot of expanding. So again, I'm just going to put, I don't know, it doesn't matter which way around you do it. I'm going to do x minus 2 at the top, so x and then negative 2. And then down the side, so that's that bracket, and then this bracket here is going to be x squared plus x minus 2. Okay, so let's start multiplying all of this out. So we've got x times x squared, which is x cubed. Negative 2 times x squared is negative 2x squared. X times x gives me x squared, and they're both positive, so it's going to be plus x squared. Negative 2 times positive x gives me negative 2x. Negative 2 times x gives me negative 2x. And then negative 2 times negative 2 gives me positive 4. Now, that means that this is an unsimplified version of your final answer. But again, we're going to be thinking about kind of what powers we've got and if we can simplify any. So looking at this, I can see that this is my only x cubed. So that's going to stay exactly the same. Okay. Now, I can then see that if I'm talking about x squareds, you've got a negative 2x squared and a positive x squared. So that's like x squared take away 2x squared. Well, that leaves me minus 1x squared or minus x squared. Okay. Then looking at my x's, you've got negative 2x and a negative 2x. So negative 2, take away another 2. If you owe me £2 already and I'm going to take another £2 off you, your debt is going to grow. So you're going to owe me £4 in total, which means that that's going to be negative 4x. Okay. And then the last one, number all by itself, I'll use blue. There we go. You've got that plus 4, and that's not going to combine with anything. Okay. So your final expression for that one is there. So it's just a case of using the tables and redoing it. So we'll do one more example. Now this one really gets on my nerves because when I had Topset a few years ago, consistently, I blue reviewed this 5 times because what they'd do with this bracket here, because it was squared, they'd just square the x and they'd square the negative 1 and it would sort it. Well, that's not how this works. So the first thing I'm going to do when you see a question like this is you're going to rewrite it as 3 brackets because this bracket is squared. Okay, so actually that just means that bracket, so x minus 1 times by itself, so there's 2 of those brackets, and then you've got this x plus 3 on the end. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to rewrite it, and I don't want to hear any excuses about not doing it because I promise you, you will lose marks and you will consistently make the same mistake. Okay, so now that we've clarified that and you're going to do it, I'm going to pick 2 brackets. I'm going to be adventurous this time. I'm going to pick the back 2. There we go. Why not? Live a little. Okay, so let's draw a table. So we're going to have x and a negative 1 at the top. And then we're going to have x and a positive 3 at the side. And then we're going to multiply these together. Okay, so x times x gives me x squared. Negative 1 times x gives me negative x. Or negative 1x, but I'm going to ignore the 1. Positive 3 times x gives me positive 3x. And negative 1 times positive 3 gives me negative 3. So these are my final answers here, but I'm just going to simplify them a little bit before I rewrite them. So those 2 brackets are going to turn into x squared. 3x minus an x gives me positive 2x overall. So I've used those. And then minus 3 is left by itself. Okay, so I've done both of those brackets and I've put my answer into one bracket by itself. I still need to use this x minus 1 at the front. Okay, so again, I'm just going to make myself a table. I'm going to put the long one at the top this time. Why not? So x squared plus 2x minus 3. And then you've got x and then minus 1 in front. So we're going to multiply this all out. Okay, so x squared times by x gives me x cubed. 2x times by x gives me a positive 2x squared. Negative 3 times x gives me a negative 3x. Negative 1 times x squared gives me negative 1x squared, but I'm going to ignore the 1 because it's not relevant. Negative 1 times positive 2x. So negative 1 times positive 2 gives me negative 2. And then there's just the x at the top, so that's going to stay the same. And then negative 3 times negative 1 gives me positive 3. 3 times 1 is 3. Negative and negative makes positive. Okay, so let's go through this. I would strongly recommend colour coding if you have got highlighters handy. So this is your only x cubed term. Then if we're looking for x squareds, we've got a positive 2x squared and a negative x squared. Then if I'm looking for just plain old x's, we've got a negative 2x and a negative 3x. And then numbers, I've just got a plus 3. So I can see straight away that my expression is going to start with an x cubed. And it's going to end in a plus 3 because they're all by themselves. Now, I'm going to go for x squared next. I've got positive 2x squared, take away an x squared. Well, that leaves me positive 2, take away 1, gives me just positive 1 left. So positive 1x squared, but I don't need the 1. Okay, then looking at your x's, we're going to have negative 3, take away another 2. If you owe me £3 already, because it's negative 3, and I'm taking £2 more off you, your debt is going to grow. So that's going to become, you're going to owe me £5 in total. So it's going to be minus 5x. Okay, and that is the final answer. Okay, good luck. Please let me know if you need any help. I know I've done triple brackets with some of you before, but it'll be a good refresher. So crack on and let me know if you need anything.